Hi, welcome back. Today, we are going to talk about four really common mistakes that parents make when they're trying to improve their kids' relationship with foods. But actually, these mistakes are easy to make, and sometimes they can make things a little bit worse. So, let's go over what they are so you personally are not going to be doing them. Okay, so let's just dive right in. Number one, of course, is pressure to eat. Putting pressure on kids to finish their plate, take a no thank you bite, take one bite, take just one more bite are all types of things that are going to deter your kids actually from trying food, from liking food and enjoying food, right? Even pressure like, oh, it would make mommy so happy if you tried it. Or, what do you think? Mommy just made you something. It's so delicious. I'm sure you're going to love it. All of those things are actually filled with pressure. Pressure to make mommy proud, pressure to make mom smile. I don't want mom to be mad at me, right? Those are all it all comes down to and boils down to the same thing, pressure to eat that food and like that food. That's why a lot of our kids will take a bite of food, tell you they love it, and then not take another bite. Or you might think that they're loving it, you go out and buy it, and the next day, oh, they're not eating it anymore, right? Because they performed for that moment, but they didn't actually like it. They were just caving under pressure to eat it. Okay. So when we want to build a good relationship with food, when we want kids to love food, pressuring them to eat it is usually not the answer. We do have solutions to this, but pressuring is actually our first no-no. So if you have been pressuring, don't be hard on yourself about it, but just knowing that what pressure looks like can really help you take that pressure off, right? You might not have realized telling them that it would make mommy's day for you to try that as being something where you're putting pressure on them, right? So just knowledge is power. So now that you know it, we can pull that pressure back. So it's actually best to just say nothing. You can just put food down and not talk about it at all, or find something else to talk about, like the weather, or what they did at school that day, or something funny your dog did that day. Really, anything else besides the food will probably be helpful. Okay, now number two, offering too many choices or the wrong choices, right? So sometimes when you have a child who's really selective, you might say, well, what about this? What about this? Oh, you used to like this. Do you want some of those? Right? When you are also in that situation where people are throwing lots of choices at you, it's easy to just kind of like be deer in headlights and not really have a great answer or know what to say. And sometimes that's why kids don't know what to say when we start asking them what they want to eat. Sometimes just giving them a few controlled choices is actually easier. Like you can have this or this, right? Giving them too many options might actually make them back away completely and not want to engage with any of them, even if some of them are their preferred foods. Did you ever have that happen to you where someone is just throwing lots of options at you and you're like, now I don't want to do anything. Please stop talking to me, right? So less is usually more, especially in this case. So take a lot of the choices away from them and give them two choices. Do you want to eat here or here? Do you want to eat before or after this? Do you want to eat the red one or the green one? Right? Try to take the number of choices down for them so that they can engage with the food better and it's just easier for them to actually make a choice. All right. So, number three is ignoring sensory and oral motor needs, right? These are two common areas that I see parents not even realizing is part of the feeding equation. So, a lot of parents don't know where their child falls on their sensory profile across the 8 sensory systems. That's right, 8, right? So, there's not just the 5, there's actually another 3. So, when you fill out our sensory profile questionnaire, it gives you, a really good read on where your child is. Are they at the normal threshold? Are they oversensitive, to some stimuli like perhaps their balance and their visual is very sensitive. whereas others might be completely normal, and some areas might be undersensitive. They might sort of be craving a little bit more sensory because their threshold is so low. So knowing where your child is, what their profile is sensory wise, at least on a general basis, of course it fluctuates from day to day, but overall, your child will have a basic general profile of how they react to different stimuli, right? So, knowing that is such a key factor in getting your kids to eat. So, we want to work within their sensory system, and knowing which things will kind of set them off or make them feel safe. So, knowing that is really, really key. And also the same with their oral motor skills. They might really struggle with their control over the food in their mouth, or how much pressure their jaw is using to actually bite down. They might not have a lot of chewing endurance to break down foods. So a lot of times parents are presenting foods that oral motor wise are way too complicated for their skill set that they have, right? Or they might be presenting foods that are just not in line with their child's current sensory profile. So the kids are going to, of course, outright reject either of those two things because they just don't have that information. Okay, so that's a key one. And number 4, using food as a reward and punishment. And this one's an easy trap to get sucked into, but making food a reward. So, having a treat after dinner. If you eat this, then you can get this awesome dessert. Or if you eat this, you get to play this fun game after. Or if you don't eat this, I'm going to take this away, right? Those are all types of rewards and punishments that are surrounded by food, right? And it's contingent upon if they eat it, don't eat it, sit at the table, don't sit at the table, right? So instead of trying to, that's a behavioral approach to a very complex situation that involves, right, our 4 pillars of feeding, which is our gut, our mindset, our sensory system, and our oral motor skills. So usually when kids are refusing foods, it's because there's an imbalance in one of those 4 pillars of feeding. If you haven't listened to that episode yet, go listen to the 4 pillars of feeding episode, and that will explain to you, a little bit more about that. But a lot of times you see that end up as a behavior, and parents try to control and manage that behavior by using things like rewards and punishments. But that doesn't help kids learn to love food. That helps train kids that they have to produce a certain result, right? So, like, for example, if the rule is you don't get, ice cream until you finish your plate, even if you are feeling full or feeling sick, but you really, really, really want that dessert, right? You might push yourself past the point of what's comfortable for your body, what you feel safe and comfortable doing because you want that dessert. You're not eating the food because you love it, because you enjoy it, because you're looking forward to it. So the food actually starts to lose its value. And instead, that other thing on the other side takes sort of control, right? So you might be actually making desserts look better than their dinner. Whereas we really don't want to have that sort of dynamic where we're glorifying the thing that's going to come after. So we try to take all rewards and punishments out of meal times completely. Instead, when you start to focus on fixing the underlying issues that are present in those 4 pillars, the sensory, the oral motor, the gut, and the mindset, when we start to fix those issues and sort of make them whole, you don't need rewards and punishments because the kids are going to have that internal motivation to eat, right? So we want to cultivate that love of food, and rewards and punishments is just not the way to do it. Okay, so let's recap. We had taking off the pressure to eat, offering too many choices, ignoring sensory and oral motor needs, and using food as a reward and punishment. Even if you just did these 4 things, you would see a tremendous jump in your child's feeding and mealtime success. So if you need help managing these things, learning about your child's unique profile, strengths, and weaknesses, definitely give our quiz a try. It's a great place to start. You can learn about what type of feeder your child is and learn about our program, Unlocking Mealtimes, which will take you on a step-by-step journey where we teach you exactly how to get your kids to love food, but based on their unique profile of strengths and weaknesses and preferences, right? So that you see the success that you're hoping for. So go visit pickyeaterstest.com and you can get started there. There is a link below, but that's a great place to start, and it'll teach you then in the video about our program. You could, of course, learn about the program on our website as well at foodologyfeeding.com/courses. We hope to see you there, and we will see you again in the next video.
Thank you for listening to How to Unpicky Your Picky Eater. To learn more about achieving your child's feeding goals, check out Christine's website at foodologyfeeding.com. And be sure to tune in next time to How to Unpicky Your Picky Eater.